The discussion about the link between video games and real-world violence has started up again once more. Yet again, video games have become the easy target instead of addressing the actual issue that's at hand. And of course, that's without anyone in the media actually taking time to read the research. This has all come in response to the latest tragic mass shooting which happened in El Paso and Dayton in the US over the weekend. Several American politicians have elected to use video games as a scapegoat instead of addressing the actual issues in the country and the devastation they cause. The Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick of the Republican Party reignited the debate when speaking with Fox and Friends.
We've always had guns, we've always had evil, but what's changed where we see this rash of shooting? And I see a video game industry that teaches young people to kill.
Clearly, Mr. Patrick is unaware that there are dozens of other countries, including the one we're speaking to you from right now, in which gaming is a huge industry, but where they do not have weekly mass shootings. The gaming lobby group, the ESA, echoed this sentiment in its statement. More than 150 million Americans enjoy video games, and billions of people play video games worldwide. Yet other societies where video games are played as avidly do not contend with the tragic levels of violence that occur in the US. The California Republican Kevin McCarthy continued to spread the nonsense that video games contribute to real-world violence despite providing no evidence.
But the idea of these video games to dehumanize individuals, to have a game of shooting individuals and others, I've always felt that is a problem for future generations and others. We've watched from studies shown before of what it does to individuals. When you look at these photos of how it took place, you can see the actions within video games and others.
Naturally, President Donald Trump shared the same ill-informed position as his Republican peers, saying,
"We must stop the glorification of violence in our society. This includes the gruesome and grisly video games that are now commonplace. It is too easy today for troubled youth to surround themselves with a culture that celebrates violence. We must stop or substantially reduce this, and it has to begin immediately."
The problem isn't just us gamers disagreeing because we want to keep our games safe. There is actual scientific research which refutes all their claims. Oxford University psychologist Andrew Przybylski said, "When we talk about games in this way and take them this seriously, it really risks trivializing what we know leads to other violent behavior. If you were Mario and you jumped on turtles, you were more likely to kill turtles in real life. If there are any confused Republican or Democrat politicians listening, that last one was sarcastic." Przybylski even co-authored a paper titled "Violent Video Game Engagement is Not Associated with Adolescents' Aggressive Behavior, Evidence from a Registered Report." In the closing remarks section, the report states, "The results provide confirmatory evidence that violent video game engagement, on balance, is not associated with observable variability in adolescents' aggressive behavior. The attacks on the games industry have been there since its inception, and it's unlikely this scapegoating will end anytime soon, especially if those in power aren't talking about the real issues." Even the National Rifle Association, who are about as pro-gun as you can get, blamed video games back in 2012, calling the industry a corrupting shadow industry that sells and sows violence against its own people. The center of this whole debate is around gun regulation, and I'm not going to tell you what to think about that. But when the people who love guns say it's not the thing that kills people that we're obsessed with, it's the harmless form of entertainment, I'm inclined to call bullshit. But hey, maybe that's just me. The National Rifle Association saying the games industry sows evil and violence, even though that's literally what a gun does. You fire it and it is supposed to be violent.
Bit hypocritical from an industry, one industry called another industry violent, whereas one industry causes, is the root cause of so many deaths in America. The other industry is a form of entertainment. So, I mean, you judge them how you will. Obviously, without the NRA around, throwing all that money around politicians' way, there wouldn't be so much support, if you ask me. And again, we're getting into politics now, which is always dubious ground. Leave politics out of our games. It's nothing to do with politics. It's difficult when these politicians are forcing it down our throats, right?
Yeah, that's true. They've made themselves involved this time, and as soon as one says it, they all kind of jump on board and say it.
Oh, we're limey Brits. We don't know what we're talking about when it comes to guns. We do, actually, because we don't have any. We don't have any mass shootings either. But again, that's just my opinion. Leave it up to you to make your own conclusions on whether having a gun, having like 40 odd million guns, or however many, there's like so many guns in America. It makes me scared. I never want to go back to America. I never want to go back to America. And if that puts people like me and other people off going to your country as a form of, think about all the money that you're missing out on in terms of tourism, because people get shot on a regular, and everyone just blames other things, scapegoating things like video games. It's completely and utterly ignorant, right?
Yeah,
ignorant. Not that all Americans are, just people who defend guns and say it's just video games, isn't it?
Anyway, it's the same old story we've seen again and again. Trump's made comments about this before when Parkland in Florida happened. I think that was last year. He said the same sort of thing. This time, people are saying the words mental health. It's coming up, but no one's really talking about it. They're still not actually addressing it. So who knows where this is actually going to go.
Because there's so many other countries that play more games than America, like South Korea, and they play more games per capita, play more hours of gaming per person than in America, yet the deadly shootings rate is practically zero. I mean, what does that tell you? There's no correlation or relationship there whatsoever, but yet they want to scapegoat gaming like they did with movies back in the day. It's violence, this and that, as people becoming accustomed to violence. There's no scientific evidence that games cause people to turn into raging homicidal maniacs. You're entitled to want to keep your guns if you want to. That is your opinion. We completely disagree, obviously, and a lot of people around the world all disagree, and we all think you're ignorant. So what does that say?
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you that guns are definitely the blame, but I'm going to tell you that video games definitely aren't.
Yes.
But let's move on to something a little more cheerful, and that's your news nuggets.
Fans at the EVO Fighting Championship were excited to see a hint that Snake from Metal Gear could be coming to Tekken 7 as DLC. Unfortunately, this wasn't the case, and it was just a joke, but it looks like the voice behind Snake himself wasn't alerted. On Twitter, he said, "You also failed to consult me or Konami. Please do not use my voice to promote other games ever. If you're going to pick a fight with Snake, at least do it right." That is, shirtless on top of a busted Metal Gear Rex.
After signing an exclusivity deal with the Epic Games Store and upsetting all their fans with an ill-conceived blog post, the developers behind Ooblets aren't exactly having the best time. Epic Games themselves have now weighed in to condemn the people who are generating fake screenshots of the developers and harassing them. Ironically, they also mentioned intimidation of those with opposing views, while failing to denounce the way the devs themselves address their own fans.
Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick has said that he is open-minded about streaming, but isn't quite so keen on subscriptions. He believes that gamers don't play enough titles at any one time to justify a subscription-based model, but acknowledges that streaming is significant. But let's distinguish a business model, subscriptions, from the technology, streaming. Streaming is obviously going to be important, but its business model remains to be seen. Any business model has to find an intersection between what's good for the consumer and what's good for the producer. It has to be good for both or it won't work.
Details have emerged that Cyberpunk 2077 will still be playable after you've completed it. In a 10-page article published in Polish magazine PSX Extreme, Cyberpunk devs confirmed that they're working on a new Game Plus mode, and with only a little over 8 months remaining until we're due to get our hands on the most anticipated game of this generation, April 16th, 2020 can't come soon enough.
The Outer Worlds isn't the only Obsidian game releasing in the near future. The complete edition of Pillars of Eternity is actually launching on the Nintendo Switch in a couple of days' time on August the 8th. So if you just can't wait until October the 25th when the Outer Worlds launches to get your Obsidian RPG fix, at least you have another option.
Speaking of the Outer Worlds, it seems everyone who's anyone already had the opportunity to play the game. Obsidian invited many journalists and influencers to play an early build of the game recently, and the internet has become flush with new gameplay and hands-on previews. The good news is that everybody's experience with the game seems to have played out a little differently, fulfilling the promise of an open-ended game. The bad news is that we didn't get an invite to the hands-on event.
No Man's Sky's next big update has finally got a launch date. No Man's Sky Beyond has been confirmed for launch on August the 14th. The update promises 3 major updates rolled into one. Firstly, VR support. Secondly, some new social and multiplayer features. And lastly, another as yet unannounced component.
JRPG Fire Emblem The Three Houses has retained its spot at the top of the UK charts. Nintendo are dominating the charts all round, with Super Mario Maker 2, Mario Kart 8 and Smash Ultimate all featuring in the top 10. Wolfenstein dropped from number 2 last week down to just number 8 this week, with FIFA 19 leaving number 5 and snagging the number 2 slot.
So there you have your gaming news nuggets for today. If you want to go and check out anything that I've mentioned in this section, head down to the description of this video where you find links to everything we've mentioned, as well as a link to our Patreon page where you can support the channel and support us bringing you this awesome content. And in return for that, you get access to our Discord channel, which gives you access to our Bad Dad Jokes channel. And it's now time for a Bad Dad Joke of the day. I was watching Goonies yesterday with Theon. Classic, right? And there's a beauty of all puns in there, right? They're at the point where they're playing the skeleton piano. Andy, the girl who's trying to play the thing, she goes, I don't know if it's an A sharp or a B flat. And like every time they press the bum note, the floor falls away from her, right? The young lad goes, if you play the wrong note again, we'll all be flat. That was a all-time class. You have that one for today instead of the Discord. Sack the Discord off. That's courtesy of the Goonies.
After you just promoted, go to Patreon, get our Discord. But you know what? Sack it. Who gives a shit?
Next up, ever wonder why big video game companies insist on putting microtransactions in full-price games? It's because we're stupid enough to buy them and keep buying them. And companies like Take-Two are continuing to see profits grow as a result. Yesterday, Take-Two announced profits are up 39% year on year, mainly due to microtransactions, or as they call it, recurrent consumer spending. During yesterday's quarterly earnings call, Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick, yeah, him again, said recurrent consumer spending on Grand Theft Auto Online once again exceeded our expectations in the first quarter. Net bookings from Grand Theft Auto Online grew year over year. Recurrent consumer spending on NBA 2K grew more than 140%. Lainey Goldstein, Take-Two Chief Financial Officer, said during the call, recurrent consumer spending grew 55% and accounted for 67% of total net bookings. The current consumer spending exceeded our expectations, due primarily to the outperformance Grand Theft Auto Online and NBA 2K. These results saw the company's profits soar to $540 million for the quarter and has seen them adjust its projections upwards for the next quarter and the entire fiscal year. As for GTA 5, a 6-year-old game, to be increasing profits year on year is quite extraordinary. The game has sold over 110 million copies since it launched, seeing it being dubbed the highest grossing entertainment product of all time. That's mainly due to the amount of microtransactions sold in the game rather than the number of copies sold. But it is the huge installed base which allow Take-Two to deliver more, as they term it, opportunities to spend. Zelnick said, one of our key strategic priorities is to continue to drive growth and engagement with our titles after their initial purchase. Our ability to achieve this goal consistently results from our firm commitment to providing consumers with opportunities that are compelling, of the highest quality, and meaningfully add to their overall gameplay experience. The jury is still out how meaningful an experience being able to gamble in GTA Online actually is. One thing is clear, however, it certainly is compelling. Diamond Casino and Resort, the recent update for Grand Theft Auto Online, reportedly saw the biggest player numbers in a single day since the game launched. Both Borderlands 3 and NBA 2K20 are launching for the company in September and will be providing plenty of opportunities for recurrent consumer spending, regardless of what Randy Pitchford will try and have you believe. Talking of Borderlands 3, Carl Slatoff, Take-Two president, said, we have a robust plan around delivering post-launch gate content to engage consumers. For the most part, we've talked about DLP component, so story-driven mission-based content. There'll be some cosmetics with Borderlands 3. Whether you like them or not, with results like these, it seems like we're further than ever away from a microtransaction-free industry. So long as we continue to hate money, big companies like Take-Two will continue to provide opportunities for us to give it to them. I just hate the way that these big executives talk. That recurrent consumer spending, giving them the opportunity to recurrently spend money and put money in our pockets so we can make more money and not pay any tax in the UK, because they did that too. These conference calls are just an opportunity for the CEO and the president of the company and the CFO the company to talk to investors. And they have a back and forth saying, oh, we've made this much money, we've increased our revenue, we're projecting more revenue, and all these games are releasing, so you should invest with us. And that's literally what they're doing. They're just bigging up their ability to make money in order so that people will invest with their company in future. That's literally all these calls are for, but they give you so much insight into how the company feels and thinks about consumers and about the products that they offer and about how they're going about it and the strategies that they're using in order to part you with money. It's enthralling to me, it really is. These opportunities, giving you an opportunity to give us your money. That's so kind of them, isn't it? It's like the way that they term it. Oh God, it's just unbelievable how deluded these people are.
We should have done a quick find-in page search, see how many times they refer to people as consumers versus like players or gamers or whatever. So it just shows how they think. So if you want to follow up on any of the stories we've covered today, be sure to have a look down in the description below. Let us know what you think about any of the things we have talked about today down in the comments. Leave a like, hit subscribe, hit the bell. Go on over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming if you want to support us and get access to the podcast a little bit early and the Bad Dad Jokes channel on the Discord. I've been Henry. He's been Gaz. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Can't we just round them all up and send them off to, like, we can't send them to Australia anymore, can we? Where can we send them? Cuba?
Oh, no, I can't say it. I was going to be like, send them to America, but I can't fucking say that. That's too bad.
They're alright. They can come over to our country if they want to shoot us. You can't have fucking guns in our country, so good luck with that one.
We got sheep instead.